Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to Dial the Gate. My name is David Reed. This is episode 88. We're almost to 100. Man, oh man. Pierre Bernard from the Recliner of Rage segments on Conan O'Brien's show and Sergeant O'Brien in SG-1 is standing by with us, and we're going to bring him in just a minute. Before we get started, if you like Stargate, and you want to see more content like this on YouTube, it would mean a great deal if you click the like button. It makes a difference with YouTube's algorithm and will definitely help the show grow its audience. Please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend. And if you want to get notified about future episodes, click the subscribe icon. And giving the bell icon a click will notify you the moment a new video drops, and you'll get my notifications of any last-minute guest changes. This is key if you plan on watching live, and clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next several days on both the Dial the Gate and gateworld.net YouTube channels. This is a live show, so like the live episodes normally go, I will ask the guests the questions that I have prepared, and we will go through a back and forth, and then about midway through the episode, I will invite the questions that the moderators have been collecting from you in the audience to be invited to the guest. So go ahead and start submitting those questions at youtube.com/dialthegate for Pierre now, and we'll get them later on in this episode. With this particular episode, we actually have art submitted by Pierre, so we're also going to be talking about those as well while we go through the program. But without further ado, let me introduce to you the man of the hour, the man of the Recliner of Rage himself, Mr. Pierre Bernard Jr. Hello, sir.
Hello, everyone.
How are you? Greetings. Live long and prosper. Absolutely. How are you, my friend?
I'm pretty good. You know, when I did that just now, it dawned on me. We need a hand salute for Stargate.
We do indeed.
We don't have a salute. Only, military thing. That's just military. We need to have something that's exclusive to Stargate.
Yeah, I mean, Rick oftentimes he would do this and then just like give the peace sign or something. He would, or right. Like when he's saying goodbye to Mayboard, he takes the flowers and flaps them too. He was what kind of a start? I had to think about that. Yeah, fandom needs to get on that.
Fan thinking.
Yeah, something. I mean, to you had an opportunity that many fans can only dream about. Not only did you have a walk-on role, but you had a speaking part as well.
Yes.
Tell us about, and I want to get into the story of how that came about, but what did that feel like as a fan?
That was unreal. That's one of those memories where I'll probably forget a lot of things, including my name. But that I will never forget the day I went into that room and stepped on that ramp to the gate and saw it in front of me. Yeah. That just blew my mind. And, I believe they did catch that on camera, and that was shown on air. That moment was as genuine as it could ever get. I mean, literally touching that gate and realizing this is where I'm at. Somehow my graphic career got me into the room on the set of my favorite TV show, and I'm touching the main prop. That moment was as surreal as it got. That moment and the moment of meeting Amanda Tapping. When she walked around that corner from her trailer and she was there, my brain was like, yeah.
There are no words. Especially no words. With Amanda, she is a truly special human being and is one of, and I'm sure you realize this as well, one of the most genuine people you will ever meet. She's the real deal. She is the personification of grace and poise and beauty and intelligence. She has it all,
Yes, I think I can safely say my years in working on Conan, I've encountered a lot of celebrities. And, I know because of their status, they don't like to be bothered and stuff. So they put up a certain type of wall that you just know not to cross. Don't bother them. If you see them, don't even greet them in some cases. Just pretend they're not in that space. But what I experienced when I went to Vancouver, which I found was extremely unique, was that everyone was approachable. No one had that barrier. Even when I met Rick,
Right.
he's MacGyver.
Right.
If ever I expected someone to have people around him to keep people at a distance, but he was approachable. He was talkable. He engaged me. I was scared. Like, I'm thinking someone's going to come jump any moment and go, get away. All right, get away. Leave him alone. But that moment never happened. The people out there, everyone on that set, from craft services to the actors, to the writers, producers, everyone was approachable. Everyone was nice, even when the cameras were off, because often you think, well, they got to be nice. The cameras are running. They're not. No, when the cameras were off, they were even nicer, which was even scary.
Exactly right.
I was constantly like, that was the one thing. The big takeaway for me from being out there was that how genuinely nice everyone really are out there on that set, and I think that's what made that show so great. They're who they are came across in their acting and their performance on the show, and the people involved in producing the show and putting it together. Their niceness, their core values came out, and it just came into the show. And I think that's what made it so good. Hands down.
You had the benefit of being there when that show was in its 8th and 10th seasons, respectively. And it really was, at that point, a cemented family. They were going into really basically bonus land with their seasons, and they knew it. And they had an appreciation for the material. Not that they didn't before, but, there was no... They knew that they were there because the fans loved them, and you were an exemplification of that. You really were.
Oh, thank you.
Now, tell us about how you got into graphic design. How old were you when you started drawing? Tell us about your backstory. Where are you from? What were there family members that got you into this?
I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, born in Bedford-Stuyvesant. As far as art goes, I've been drawing as far back as I can really remember. I have old coloring books from when I was a child. I still have some original artwork that I created with pattern designs, which is something we'll talk about. But pattern designing goes back to, I would say, age 3 or 4.
Wow.
I always took interest in repeated images. My art history, and my dad was very encouraging as far as art being a hobby. He wanted me to get a real career, and in his case, he wanted me to be a jeweler. He did watch repair, and he wanted me to learn to do that as a trade to make money.
Right.
And he told me I can do my art as a hobby. But I knew once I put the loop on my eye, I knew this was not something that was for me. And that went nowhere. But I pursued the art. My mom was very encouraging. When it came to high school, finally leaving Catholic, what you call grade school, the people at my parochial school recommended this school called High School of Art and Design in New York. And I applied and I got in. And that was the beginning of my art career. I did 4 years at Art and Design in New York. Then towards the end, I got into the internship program, and something that rarely is mentioned, my internship was with Neil Adams of Continuity Associates.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of Neil. I collected comic books and stuff. It never dawned on me that someday I would actually meet the man. I did during that time, prior to starting that internship, I interviewed at a couple places. I interviewed at DC Comics, Marvel, Archie, and with Neil. At Marvel, I met a couple of people up there, and somehow I don't remember exactly at what point I knew Joe Rubinstein. If it was from Continuity, somehow I knew Joe Rubinstein. I think it was I met him at a comic gallery in New York, but I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly what happened. All I do remember is that one day I was in Marvel's lobby in New York, and Rubenstein saw me there, and he took me in and he introduced me to Marie Severin. And from there, Marie introduced me to a couple of other people in the bullpen. And there was a guy named Maury Cormachi or Cormucho. I don't remember pronounce his last name, but he was a bullpen artist. And he took me under his wing because he loved my lettering style. And he started training me. He gave me a bunch of blank pages and would have me do copy a comic book, bring them back, criticize it, give me more pages. It went on for a while. And in the meantime, I started my internship with Neil. And I remembered at one point, a critique Neil gave me. I still remember this critique, and it hurt. I showed him some comic pages I drew, and he sat there, he looked at it, and then he goes, hands them back to me. He goes, nice lettering. And he went back to work. Needless to say, a few months later, Marvel Comics gave me my first lettering job. And
hey, you know,
it worked. And after Marvel, somehow I got connected with Jack Adler. I don't remember exactly how that worked out, but Jack loved what I was doing and started giving me regular work at DC. And at the time, they couldn't find people to work on a lot of the horror magazines. So I told them, yeah, I love that stuff. So if you look at the horror magazines from the late 80s to about the early 90s, that was all me doing a lot of lettering in those magazines. And at some point, once I left college and I started working, I went into advertising. And this is when things started changing. The comic lettering started to go away. I started focusing more on storyboards and comps with a company called Dancer Fitzgerald and Sample in New York. They're in the Chrysler Building. I did that for a couple of years. And after a couple of years there, I went freelance. And that wasn't working out. Then out of the blue, an ex of mine called me up. She was working at Newsweek magazine and told me they needed someone to help them with comps. And at the time, the comp presentation. And at the time, I remembered I wanted to be an illustrator. So I was dead focused on being an illustrator, which was not what my dad wanted to hear. He would come home, find me sitting in the living room, and it's like, you know the type of conversations that will occur.
What are you doing with
why
your
are
life?
you working?
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, when she called up about this job, Newsweek magazine needed help putting together a presentation. I figured, you know what? I'm going to take this job. She told me it was a couple of days. I figured, take the job. I'll do it this way. My dad will be happy. He sees I'm working again. It'll make life easy.
Right here.
Yeah. He won't find me sitting around in the living room. So I took the job at Newsweek. It went for a week. They liked it. They asked me to come back the following week. I came back the following week. And before I knew it, the department had 4 different art directors who worked on different clients, because what basically they were doing was creating advertising for the magazines. They had each one had different clients that they worked with, and they needed presentations created. And they needed someone who could work quick, really fast, which is something I'm really capable of doing. So each one would say, you go, can you work on my project? Can you work on my project?
Oh, they're pulling at you from different directions.
Yes.
Oh, dang. This is so rough.
It was rough. It became a full-time job, 5 days a week. And because initially when I first booked the gig, because I thought it was only a couple of days, I asked for the highest amount of pay that I could get per hour as a freelancer, figuring it's a 2 days of work.
Right.
But because that was already established as my pay, and now we went into a 5-day week kind of situation.
Whoa.
Needless to say, within a few months, my student loans were paid off.
Good for you.
It was like, Newsweek was incredible.
Wow.
I can't. That was a magic moment. The only reason that ended was because at some point they were getting into tax issues with their setup, and they had brought in this new person who, at the time, the Macintosh was brand new, came and called us all into the office and basically said, if you can figure out how to use this machine in the next 2 weeks, you all will have a job. And if you can't, you're gone. Given that none of us had computers, they weren't buying us computers. And 2 weeks, for some, I was gone. But that was, after that, I think within a few months, I met up with a friend of mine. We rented some space in the city and we bought computers. At the time, a Macintosh computer was like buying a car.
It was a big deal. Yeah.
It was a huge deal. I still save the receipt because when I tell people how much this thing cost me, it was a Macintosh FX. It only had 2 gigs of RAM. I bumped it up to 8 gigs of RAM. The hard drive, I think, was 200 and something megabytes. Megabyte. The printer was this huge NTX printer. It's huge, bulky thing. The Wacom tablet was this huge, bulky thing. All in all, I spent 17 grand on this computer. This was money I had saved from Newsweek, but I looked at it as an investment.
Correct.
And I'm so glad I did that because I was able to self-learn and self-train myself using.
And this is before YouTube or such and such for dummies and all of that. You had to figure it out.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Photoshop at the time when you applied filter was an issue of typing in numbers into a box and then clicking and hoping what comes out is what you want. Yeah, there was no previews, no anything. And Illustrator was a huge pain to work with. I mean, yeah, but I trained myself on the programs and over time, somehow Prudential Security came into the picture. I don't remember if someone I knew contacted me that they were looking for someone to do graphic design on the computer at Prudential Securities. And at the time I thought, okay, I'll go back to a 9-to-5. And I was so glad I did because this took me in another direction entirely, given that I was kind of new with the computer. Now I was going to work on Wall Street, wearing suit and tie every day, and I felt freaking cool. I think it's the coolest thing to be wearing a suit and tie and carrying your briefcase, and you're a graphic artist.
Yeah.
That was such a cool life, and working at Prudential was a dream. It was fun. It was even though there was a ton of work. I mean, kept long hours there, but it was just fun work. Going on press runs and press checks, and it was just being in that financial environment. I know a lot of people might think it could be boring, but I found it exciting and fun.
How does this lead to Conan and animating on Conan?
What led to Conan? Prior to all of this goes even further back, going back to college days. I went to Parsons School of Design. They had a job or an office where they had job postings. One day I answered a post of someone saying they needed a graphic artist temporarily to do some graphics. They didn't say exactly what, but it was illustration work. So I called up and it turned out it was NBC. What they needed was an artist to come in a couple of days a week per year to fill in for their regular artist on the David Letterman show. Okay. And I applied for it, and I did that during that time. And somehow they no longer needed me, and we didn't keep in touch. But years later, going towards the Prudential end, this was around the time when Carson retired.
Right. Okay. And then
Leno
took
that
over.
Whole thing, and Conan was coming in. The person I worked for years ago remembered me, and she called me up and said, I need an illustrator because Letterman took the staff away, and we need an illustrator for this new show that's coming up. Would you be interested to come in for a couple days a week? And talk about timing.
This is why you never change your phone number, folks. There.
Totally. You'd never change your number and always be open to opportunities.
Correct. From wherever they come from.
Yeah. Even if it might seem weird, as long as it's nothing that's going to make you uncomfortable,
Yeah.
I always say be open to the opportunity.
Try it.
Always, try it. So I told her yes. At the time, my dad was dealing with cancer, and he was towards the end of his life. And I figured Prudential, at some point, I was going to have to leave them anyway because of what was going on at home, because they needed so much of my time. So I worked out a thing with the guy at in our art department where I could go work at NBC a couple of days a week, and I would give them a couple of days a week at Prudential, and everyone seemed to be happy with that. The stuff I was doing at NBC was illustration, and I could illustrate in my sleep and not bragging. Well, it wasn't strenuous work. I could do it and go home and be with my family.
Yeah.
But over time, NBC started adding the days. They needed more and more of my time. And eventually I just realized within a couple of months that
you can't do it all.
Having the dual job wasn't working.
Yeah,
so
especially with what's going on at home.
Oh, yeah. So I figured I'll take on the easier job, which was NBC, and I would just leave them when things were done. When my dad passed, I would just leave and go look for another job. So at one point, which was even funnier, at one point I got a call from someone at Letterman. I won't say who, but it was someone from their art department wanted to know if I would be interested in coming to work for them. I was thinking at the time, I didn't know. I thought about it. I did think about it.
Right.
But then I thought, the reason I took NBC on was because of what's going on at home. I don't want to move around and stuff. I just want to do my job.
Especially if they've been good to you. Yeah. Why rock that?
Yeah, why rock that? So I turned that down and I stayed with Conan. I'm so glad I did, because in the early days of Conan, if you've seen any of the early tapes of his interviews, that, what do you call it, right knee of his got a lot of action. It was bouncing up and down, a lot of hair stuff.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It was like watching a deer in headlights. And I was like, my God, what did I just do to my career?
Well, it's all riding on this one guy and whether or not he's successful with his audience and with his guests, That's really what it comes to. The show is invested in that, and you doing everything you can, all of you, to make that as great as possible. Yeah, and not to mention, I realized at the time, given what's going at home, I need an income. I cannot not have an income, So that was worrying me, whether this show was going to make it. I mean, there were days you couldn't even get people off the street to come upstairs. It was that kind of stuff. But over time, I think within a year or two, things started to feel better, and the NBC started extending the contracts, I think from 6 months to longer periods, and things were looking good. And then I think it was about 4 years into the show at this point. My dad had already passed away, but I was still there. The thought of leaving wasn't high on my thing anymore, because I was having fun. The work was fun. The illustration stuff they were having me do was fun, but I was pretty much still keeping to myself up there. But one day, one of the writers asked me if I would be willing to do a bit and stand on the street corner in Rockefeller Center for a photo shoot, being one of those street vendors selling watches. At the time, I thought to myself, no, I'm not doing that. That's some stereotype thing you want me to do. Not to mention, I have a lot of friends who work downtown at Prudential. They're going to see this. Correct. It's a small city.
I'm thinking, I don't want to be seen wearing a sweatsuit like that, coming from suit and tie. But something, I don't know what it was inside of me, but something said, you know what, Pierre, go out of your comfort level. Just do it. Have fun with it. So I told them yes. And I shot that picture. Then as weeks progressed and they're doing their comedies, they would ask me to do different things. And one was be Mr. Spock at a money exchange thing. There was some weird stuff, but I did them. And then one day, all of this, now I think we're going into 4 or 5 years into the show. One day, one of the writers, Brian Stack, calls me up on a Monday morning, and he goes, Pierre, how was your weekend? And we're talking on the phone. He's a couple of floors above, and we're talking, and he's going, Pierre, how's your weekend? And he's asking, what did you do this weekend? And I'm telling him, and he goes, and I told him, particularly that weekend, I was trying to convert my record collection into MP3 files.
Yes.
And I bought
that's right.
I bought this thing called an iMic that wasn't working. And I started explaining to him what was going wrong with it. And he goes, you know what? He goes, I got to go, but could you do me a favor? Write this down in an email and send it to me.
This could be a bit.
Yeah, I'm thinking to myself, in my head, I'm thinking, write this down, send it. Right. You know, you got to go. Why do you?
Yeah.
Well, I did it. I wrote it down in an email and I sent it to him. Then it was a late afternoon. I'm called downstairs to come to the studio for a blocking. And I'm thinking, all right, they're going to use me on something. But never dawned, and no one explained to me what it was. And at the time, because I never was outside of my office, I never really got haircuts. So my hair was all over the place, and it was kept but unkept.
Right.
But I came down, I did the blocking. I figured, I'm not going to really be on camera per se, so how I look wasn't an issue. But then I would say about half an hour prior to airtime going live, they come to me, they call me back down, and they give me a script. And Brian goes, Pierre, you're going to read what you just sent me today. I made a couple of changes, but you're going to basically read what you just told me today, and you're going to sit in that recliner.
That's how it was born.
That was how it was born.
Oh.
That was how it was born.
So that was your first bit, converting records to MP3.
Live talking bit. Yeah, that was my first talking bit
So talk about being outside of your comfort zone. And they just threw this at you and said, go for it. They didn't say, would you be comfortable with this? Is this something that interests you? We need this. Point,
I always said yes. So they didn't see a problem. I think that's one of the things I was mentioning earlier. Whenever an offer comes up to you, if it's not something that's going to put you way out of your comfort zone,
or something that you just disagree with fundamentally, I mean, because I one way or another, do it.
Yes, that's it. Because I remembered when they first asked me to do those still photos, I don't believe I was the first person they approached, but the other people who I worked with at the time, they said no. And they didn't want to do it. When they came to me, I said yes. I'm so glad I did say yes. I could have easily said no, I'm not comfortable with it. But in my head, I thought, I got to try it.
Here's the thing, in watching you for all these years, you put yourself out there to be laughed at, which is you and you're recognizing that you have a sense of timing that is just a little different, but that makes for humor, that the average Joe watching at home can say, you know what, I like this guy. I like him a lot, but you were willing to go out there and say, you know what? Yeah, let's do this bit. I mean, that was a thing that was happening to me this weekend. This is what I was doing. If you think it's funny, let's go for it. Let the audience let the audience decide. So, and then they just kept on doing it.
Yeah, we just kept on doing it. And eventually, I think it was the fifth one in was Stargate.
Yeah.
I remember, again, this was a weekend where I was working on an art project. I used to do pointillism, and I needed something on in the background. And at the time, I had an episode, I had Channel 9 in New York on, and they were showing reruns of Stargate. And the episode it's come to known as Small Victory was on. I didn't know the title at the time. All I know is that I heard these characters, I saw them running around in the submarine,
right?
These little things moving around and stuff. And I stopped what I was doing and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. What is this? And that was my intro to Stargate.
Small Victories. That's a good show.
Yeah, that was my intro to Stargate. From that moment, I was hooked.
Did you go get the DVDs at this point? What
No,
was your? How did you approach the show?
Yet. DVDs didn't.
Okay.
I don't think it existed yet for Stargate at that point. At least I wasn't aware of it. I just started. I just made it a point to watch the scheduling when Stargate was being repeated or shown on TV. Eventually, I found it live on cable, and I forgot at what season. I think it had to have been around late season 6 or maybe early season 7 when I actually started watching it in real time on cable. I don't remember which cable channel at the time, along with the repeats. But anyway, that was that weekend. I saw that episode, and Monday came, and Brian called up. At this point, I knew the routine. He was my therapist. I sat on the phone couch and I told him my problem. I told him about the show, and he told me to write it up. And yeah, I wrote it up, and next thing I knew, we did it.
So this is the Stargate SG-1 is better without Daniel Jackson bit?
Correct, exactly.
So that's season 6 that Corin Nemec had replaced Michael. And by season 7, Michael was back. So you had to have been exposed to some season 6 episodes at that point, at the very least.
Right. That sounds about right.
Wow. So you do the bit. Everyone gets a huge laugh out of it. Conan says his obligatory, I think probably two people in the audience recognize what that is, gets a huge laugh. Then what?
And a couple weeks later, I know I've saved this letter. I have to find it. I received a letter, and it basically said they thought the bit was funny, and if I was ever in Vancouver, that they would love to give me a guest spot on the show.
Wow.
At the time, I thought I was being spoofed by the staff because the writers were constantly ribbing me, going, I bet you got an ego now that, you have a little fan base, people know you. So I figured that letter was a joke on their end. They were, so I wasn't going to play along with it. So I brought the letter to our head writer and I said, Sweeney, I got this in the mail. Did you see this? Of course, he didn't see it, but he goes, what is this? And I told him what it is. And he made a copy of it. And he said, he's going to look into it. And I'm thinking, yeah, right. You're going to look into it.
Right. I'm going to be up a creek. You guys this will be the next bit.
Yes. But long and behold, I saved the voicemail. I got a phone call and a message was left on my phone, my cell phone. And it was from Vancouver. Yeah. And they wanted to follow up on plans on my coming out. I wasn't fully aware that the head writer they started contacting them.
Oh,
and
he was
things
doing
were already rolling. So I got this phone call on myself telling me this stuff. And I'm like, I'm sort of caught off guard, but yeah, it turned out they wanted me out there. When I got out there, they were under the impression that I was a professional actor doing a bit. The joke's on them.
I'm a graphic designer who does the occasional comedy bit. Here you go.
Yeah, the joke's on them. But it was, everything just followed accordingly. It was just, talk about perfect timing.
The episode, which is 0 Hour, dovetailed with another sketch for the show, so they got mileage out of this as well, going up there and shooting this thing.
Oh yes.
And if you watch the Conan segment, a couple of the shots are different too. Even they maximize the humor element for the Conan episode, even handing over a couple of shots that are focused more on you, which I thought was just fantastic. So it really worked. Tell us about working on set. Was that who directed 0 Hour? Let me see. I should have known that. Was that a DeLuise episode? Let's see here.
I don't think it was DeLuise, but I don't remember right offhand.
Let's have a look. 0 Hour. You shared the scene with RDA, and Peter West directed the episode. And so,
Peter.
So you took Gary Jones's position for this episode, and we're working with Rick. Tell us about this experience.
Working with Rick was a dream. I mean, I was a fan of MacGyver, and meeting him for the first time, again, like I said earlier, I I expected to meet someone who was going to be nice to me, but you know, they keep that wall in place, right. And there would be people around to say, all right, Pierre, you know, it's time to move on kind of thing. But that never occurred. He was just so genuinely nice and wanted to know about me and talk. And when the camera was off, he was constantly telling me, check out the tuna fish sandwich on the catering table.
The catering was good. I really love the catering, gotta say.
Oh, yeah. And at one point, somehow photography came up, and it just so happened, I guess at the time, he had a curiosity in 3D photography. And I happen to love Viewmaster, and I was into 3D photography as well. So we started sharing that and talking about that. I sent him a 3D camera. I don't know if he ever used it or not. But when I went back out there the second time, I think we briefly met. And at the time, we did meet briefly. At the time, we talked about 3D camera, and it was just so happened, the timing was just perfect. I was in my zombie makeup, and Amanda Tapping happened to be in the area. And the three of us pretended to be zombies and shot it with a 3D camera. I tried to find the actual photo so I can show you guys, but I don't know if you can see that.
Well, hang on here. I see you and her.
Yeah, it's a cool photo when you look at it with a 3D glasses because their arms are sticking out coming at you.
Wow, that's legit.
Yeah, it was a cool photo we shot. Yeah, so yeah, they called me out the second time. The second time coming out there was partially courtesy of a guy named John Murphy, I believe his name. John, he was a producer and director, and he was directing, I think the title of the bit was called Behind the Gate. At the time, they were beginning to introduce, I believe, Stargate Atlantis.
Correct.
And he played a part in having me come out there to interview the cast. That was another one of those moments where I can't believe this is happening. I get the call, and I'm asked, would you be interested in interviewing the cast of Stargate and this new show we're going to start called Stargate Atlantis? Duh. Of course I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to say yes.
I mean,
you crazy?
No way. Yeah, there was no way I'm going to say no. So yeah, I was flown out there again, and it was like, you talk about lightning striking twice. Yeah, I got to sit and interview all these great people, and there's so much incredible behind the scenes stuff that didn't make it on air because our show Conan shot a lot of stuff. He showed some of it, and I think Behind the Gate showed some of it as well, but there's so much cool interaction that occurred out there that is just, it's the memories that I'll never forget.
So it was a total of 3 visits up there?
Yeah, the third,
the third was the 200.
The final one, again, another call. I'm telling you, at this point, I did not become jaded or like took this for granted. Because getting that third call, it was like, whoa, you guys want me again? Of course I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But I can't believe my luck in life that 3 times like this, I'm being called out there. I went out, and it's just so happens right next door on that lot was the soundstage to Battlestar Galactica.
Yes.
And a woman, I regret I don't remember her name right off the bat. And if she's listening or is aware, I really apologize for not remembering because I'm really bad with names. She was, I believe her title was a producer. She worked for NBC, but I don't remember her title exactly.
Okay.
But she saw me on the set of Stargate. We had broken for lunch or something. And she goes, would you want to come over and meet Grace Park? And I was like, yeah.
Absolutely. You want me to meet a Cylon? Pull my leg.
So she took me over. I met her. It was just so cool. And they took me on a quick tour of the set and the bridge room where she killed, shot Adama.
Yes, on the
And
CIC table. Yeah,
yeah, and I don't know. I think I sent you a photo of
I have it
me and her
right now. Yep.
doing that scene of her. Yeah, that was like that was so cool. That was
You want
so
to talk
cool.
about another great show? Is Galactica.
Oh,
You
it
know,
was fantastic.
terrific.
It was fantastic.
What an experience, man. Holy cow. I mean, to have your fandom recognized. And and also the creation convention as well that they shot.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
shot that clip as well. And
That
it's go ahead.
no, I was going to say at the creation convention, that was the first time I met Gary Jones.
Yes.
He's a
Walter.
fantastic guy. I want to say we're friends. I hope he sees. I'm not overstepping my boundaries by saying we're friends. He's an amazing artist. I've seen
He
him
is.
draw, and he's just incredible. And we did a lot of interacting and stuff, and shot a lot of stuff at that convention, which I don't think ever made air, but a lot of it was just funny. It was great material.
It was. I have a bit of an issue with the convention bit. As a sci-fi fan, growing up as a sci-fi fan, there is a certain element of stigma that goes along with it. Oh, you like that. Especially coming from a small town of 5,000 people that, I mean, if you don't think that football, the sun rises and sets on the world of football, then there's something wrong with you. But they did kind of play that element in that bit, especially when you're talking with the gentleman who's giving the joke about I think temperature. There is a certain element of buffoonery that they were playing up. And I hate that really just kind of makes me jaded, because it's like, a lot of, and MTV did this for a while as well. They had like some kind of a fandom show as well that just took pot shot after pot shot at weird people that the average normie out there could laugh at. And I wasn't thrilled with that particular sequence, even though it did get to highlight you and you got to go to the creation convent. I really, and it got taped and shown to the world. I really walked away feeling from that bit like they were saying, look at all those weirdos. Aren't you glad you're not one of them? But Pierre, he's a good guy. He's one of us. Did you get that vibe at all? And I mean, talking about it years later.
I would have to re-watch that
Okay.
particular segment, because I honestly don't remember it that well. That said, what you're saying is a point that I'm very sensitive to, and it forms a lot of my opinion about people who attend conventions and stuff of that nature. It drives me crazy when people who are not fans or of anything then want to jump on board, and they become these wannabes. They somehow want to own the environment when they're not really sincere about wanting to be part of the environment. It goes to what you're talking about. They see people like me and the other fans as people to make fun of. That bugs me. That totally bugs the hell out of me. That said, I just know they exist, and I tend to ignore them. In terms of what you're saying about that segment, from my perspective, I don't remember it. Like I said, I don't remember that moment well. But one of the things I've always kept in my head whenever I do any kind of comedy bit is that, yeah, I know there are people in that audience. Some will laugh with me, and some will laugh at me. Maybe there will be more people who are laughing at me than they are laughing with me. But guess what? I don't care.
Good for you.
Once the bit is over, I'm having fun, which is the important thing. It's my motto. If I'm not having fun, I'm not doing it. Yep. You can't convince me to do it. But I'm having fun. In some cases, I'm getting some kind of payment for it.
Right.
And then
exactly.
After it's over, I get to go home and be among the things I love. So I don't care if you're laughing at me. I would prefer you're laughing with me, but if you're laughing at me, knock yourself out.
Yeah, you're doing this
about
professionally. You're not, repairing watches.
right.
You are doing something that you love to do, and
Yeah,
that's just terrific. Before go
oh
ahead.
yeah. So when I go to comic conventions, for example, I remember it a couple of years ago, and I mentioned this on Facebook, and a couple of people didn't take offense, but they were questioning my thinking on this, and I mentioned that there should be some kind of exam or license given to people to order to attend a comic convention. I really believe that because I remember there was one year I went to a convention and there was what they call booth babe was there, and the guys wanted to take photos with her and stuff, and I was standing at that booth because I think the owner of that booth at the time knew who I was. He wanted a photo with me and the people at his booth. And she made a comment to me. I don't know if I guess she's not a fan, obviously, but she made a comment to me about
the booth babe, the employee at the booth?
Yeah, the booth babe employee made a comment to me. She didn't say it loud for anyone to hear it, but to me, thinking I would agree, that she did not like these guys coming near her, taking the photos. Some of them smell. I'm hearing the negativity. Of course, some of them smell. They don't shower. But
some of us are not that great at it. I don't care if you're a Stargate or a sci-fi fan or not. Some of us just are not that great at it.
But from hearing the way she was talking, it went beyond that. She just simply did not want to be there. She didn't want to have any part of it. Yeah. And she sounded like someone who felt she was above it all. Yeah. And my thinking is, I get it. This is a job. You're an attractive woman. That's why they hired you to be in that booth.
It's a trade show.
Quite frankly, there are attractive women who are fans that could have been hired for that job. And I feel the comic environment, we want to be open to everyone. We don't want to become that exclusive club and shut people out the way we've been shut out of certain things. But I think if you're going to go to Comic-Con, to make that experience right, you need to have real comic people in that environment. And everyone who's a wannabe fan who just wants to be there to be able to tell their friends, I was around the geeks, they shouldn't be there. They should be thrown out. They should be shunned.
Yeah, are you looking for material? Is that the reason? So
even with the studios, if you're not serious about the fandom, go away or create your own convention. I'm sure you'll get a few sucker fans who will come to your convention, but give us a space where real fans, people like me, can come in and be appreciated and feel comfortable and not feel like we're being made fun of or mocked for what we love,
I think that in the last few years, especially like the last decade, the ascendancy of fandom has taken place, and I think so Star Wars has obviously become very mainstream. Iron Man and the MCU that came after it have become absolutely mainstream. Star Trek and a couple of the others still feel like they're trying to tap into that. I don't know how big of a fan you are of the JJ verse Star Trek movies. They're trying to be kind of more mainstream accessible like Star Wars. But Stargate, I still get that vibe when I talk with people about it, or I talk with people in the industry about it. They're kind of like, oh, Stargate, that's cute and all. But it was on for 17 seasons, for 350 hours of television. They were doing something right, Oh,
totally.
And I think that its star is still set to rise.
So. Oh, yeah. On the one hand, I'm excited and hopeful that Stargate will become a huge thing. But on the other hand, I don't want it to become huge in the sense that it becomes a celebrity-driven vehicle.
Something that it's not, Tell us good stories.
I want it to be about the story. I want it to be about the character. I don't want to find out that The Rock is playing, General O'Neill. I don't want to hear. Or what's her name? The singer is playing Amanda Tapping.
Amanda Tapping's character.
You know what I mean? I hope it never gets to that kind of
Yeah.
show. I worry when I've been reading lately that there are talks going on and they're looking at reboots and stuff. And I'm thinking, all right, I hope whoever is putting this together is not going to cast the latest rapper and R&B singers to play the roles. And, I hope this Stargate will always be about the story.
Yep.
And not about who's in the role.
Right. And
what
about the
celebrity
characters
is in the
themselves.
role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. Absolutely. Before I get to the artwork that you've sent me, can you show me a little bit about what's behind you here? I love your blanket. For one, is it a blanket or a throw?
Yeah, it's a throw. It's one
This
of the
is so
new creations
cool.
of mine. I don't know if you can see the dots on there.
Yes.
The circles.
The circles.
Yeah, it's all from my stuff that I'm selling on my website now. Pierre Bernard, pierrebernard.com.
pierrebernard.com.
Oh, I should say
right.
pierrebernardjr.com.
JR, right?
Yeah, JR.
pierrebernardjr.com. Let's check it out here. Did you send me a picture of that?
Yes,
I'm thinking that you did. Here, let me have a look here. Pierre Bernard, wearable design. Is it wearable designs?
Yes, wearable designs.
Okay, let's pull that up. Very cool, man.
Thank you.
All right. How long has this been going?
The website literally is fresh. It's only been 2 months on the website.
Okay.
But I've been doing circles for the last 15 years at least.
What? I've seen you.
20.
Yeah, a lot of your art. And I'll go back to what's also behind you here in just a minute here, but I want to, because we're on the subject, a lot of your art does have this kind of concept of circles. Are you attracted to the design or just the pattern? What is it that keeps on pulling you back to that kind of look?
Well, to begin with, circles have always been something I love doing. Whenever I would be on the phone talking to people, sometimes I would have a notepad nearby. I would just be doodling circles while talking. And one day I just looked at it and thought, this would make a great background pattern in something. And I was using it as background. Some point it evolved and I suddenly realized I can do drawings with it, and I started doing a series of portraits of different celebrities. This was about 4 or 5 years ago. I found some what you call Japanese ink pen, gel pens in different colors that I could work with, that I can do really detailed portraits. And I did a bunch of portraits of Prince, Lucy, David Grohl. The robots want to touch comas from Ghost in the Shell, the Yellow Submarine.
Wow.
And from those little circles, I suddenly one morning woke up and thought, what if I did these things huge on a canvas? And I did a picture of Agent Carter, and that turned out well. And from that, I started moving into doing abstract images with just circles, non-representational, and that just kept evolving more and more. And then my love for patterns comes from when I was young, a child, and that was always a reoccurring thing in my artwork. I would throw patterns into the background, and I got one day this idea, what if I created some of these patterns with circles? And that evolved into this. Everything just occurred. It would be one morning I'm listening to something and a light bulb goes off and I try it on paper or canvas, and it just kept evolving into what I'm doing now with these fabric designs.
And of course, I mean, you want to talk about circles.
Yes.
The Stargate itself.
Yes.
I think subliminally there's something going on there probably too.
Probably. Mentioning Stargate, I have a pattern I've been working on for the last 6 months. I was hoping I would get it done. I could speed it up to show you something on air. It's a Stargate related pattern, but I figured I'm not going to rush it because I find I need to take my time and work these things out.
We'll have you back.
Right.
When it's ready, you let me know and we'll make it happen for sure. Yeah, this is so cool, man. I'm just, checking out some of your designs here, and let me pull up a couple of these others just for a second here. So I've been showcasing the circles that you've done on screen, and then DragonCon drawing workshop art supplies. This is really cool.
Yeah, DragonCon was so cool. After the DragonCon Recliner of Rage that I did, complaining about the badge, they invited me out one year, and my God, talk about the greatest convention on earth.
I've heard. I've not had the chance yet, but
I'll make it a point. The moment that's back, Dave, trust me on this. Everyone who's listening, if you've never been, you want to go to a real comic convention or a real convention that's about us, the fans, and not about nonsense, go to DragonCon, hands down. Any celebrity that you're trying to meet at Comic-Con San Diego, and I hope I'm not giving out a secret here, but any celebrity that you're spending money getting autographs in San Diego, you will meet them on the street and they will party with you.
Yes, it's a big party.
DragonCon is what San Diego, I mean, not San Diego, but Vegas is to gamblers.
Yeah.
That's
Comic-Con is a trade show, you know, and it's for exposure of a product. And that's one of the reasons that the news stories just abound with it. For anything that's coming out, that's their big advertising push. DragonCon is about the fan experience, and it's about a lot of alcohol. So,
hey, it's part of it. But I'm telling you, go to DragonCon. You'll never sleep. Plan to not sleep. Yeah, that's the first thing, because it's round the clock partying. The first year I went there, I forgot the main hotel that I was in. At one point, around 4 a.m, they had to shut the lobby down. The fire department was called because the lobby was packed. 4 a.m. This is literally a 24-hour a day, 4-day convention. It does not stop. From the moment you arrive, there is something to do till you depart. It's insane. It's insane. I love that convention. I love it. I love the people. You make new friends there, and it's the greatest.
This My Little Pony Recliner of Rage Stargate. This is so cool.
Oh, thank you. Yes, that was part of a charity drive for Stargate at the convention. They mailed me a blank pony and they asked me to paint it. And I used glow-in-the-dark paint, and
How cool is that? Do you remember how much it sold for?
I don't remember offhand how much it sold for, but I do know a friend of mine, she owns it.
Oh, that's great.
She bought it on the charity. Yeah.
The charity component to these events has always just been so extraordinary. You know, the desire to give back, you know, from appreciation of what we've been given as fans in terms of great entertainment, and then turning that around and giving back what we can, even if it's $1 or $2, you know, to an event or to a cause that the people who are all in this together really think is important. You know, for the longest time, you know, a lot of the charity events and the things that Vancouver, the British Studios put on, went to benefit Vancouver Children's Hospital, British Columbia, BC Children's Hospital. You know, I mean, you just can't, you can't, you know, blink at that. Absolutely, any opportunity to give, you know, and to give back is really cool. That is a great thing.
And also, I think a quick note, just for the Stargate fans. Every year that I attended, at least DragonCon, I recall, and I'm sure this has been consistent even during the years I wasn't there, the Stargate group raised the most money at the convention for the charities.
Wow.
I mean, Stargate is hardcore out there. I mean, there's a lot of people attending. When they on Saturday mornings at DragonCon, there's a 2-mile parade of everyone in their cosplay, and the Stargate group is there to impress. There's nothing like it. These are some amazing people. Yeah.
Do you know Marsha Middleton?
Yes, I know Marsha.
One of my favorite human beings on the planet. Marsha is a delight.
She is the person who introduced me to DragonCon.
Wow, there we
Yes.
go.
Yes, we met at what you call it, San Diego,
Yeah.
and she said, "Do you know about this convention?" I was like, "No, I don't know." She goes, "You should come out," and
Yeah.
well, give me the information, and yeah, that's how that began.
Wow. Well, man, the next one, absolutely, I will be there, absolutely to hang out, and especially after everything that we've been through this past year and a half, it's like, we really need a DragonCon again when the all clear is given. Absolutely. So, and what else do you have with you here? You have the game board, which is rarely mentioned.
Yeah, it's never been open. I don't know if you can.
There we go.
It.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never opened it. It's in its brand new mint condition. I don't even keep it out because I don't want dust to gather on it. And this was given to me on my first trip out there.
Wow.
I don't remember. Actually, no, I do remember. The woman, I think her name is Michelle Coleman.
Okay, yes, the visual effects. Yes,
yeah, I
MGMs.
believe she's the one who gave this to me.
Wow.
And at the time, I was out there with a lot of staff people. We were shooting that segment out there. One of the staff members said, "I'll hold this for you." He was a fan of the show. Of course, that did not happen. I did not let go of this box. I kept it under my arm everywhere I went.
Absolutely.
When I had to shoot, I gave it to someone else. And the moment they yelled "cut," I went and grabbed my box. Yeah, I never separated from this box. My only regret is that I never got it autographed. But
yeah, that's the thing. The downside of it being under the packaging. It's like, well, that's really cool, man. Thank you for sharing that. One of my favorite beats from the Conan segment is, Marcia is watching right now. So hi, Marcia.
Hey, Marcia.
One of my favorite beats from the Conan segment is after you had said, Stargate is way better without Dr. Daniel Jackson. Off screen, Daniel gets his chance. His
revenge.
And so they put all the
squibs.
The squibs. That's it. That's the word. What was that like?
Oh, those squibs hurt.
Yes, I bet they did.
They're not painful, but they hurt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Off, you feel that impact.
Jeez, man.
And remembering to keep your arm out because you don't want your arms in front or it
correct.
So it's like, that's interesting. So, I've grown a new appreciation for that. Whenever I watch shows where people are being shot, I understand what they must be feeling when those things are going off.
There is nothing that, just because it's maximally safe does not mean it doesn't hurt.
Yes.
Like the guy who gets hit by a car in Cloverdale in SGU. That he walked away in pain in that episode, and it's just like these people they put on a show for the camera. Rob Cooper and I just recently had a discussion about Vegas, the penultimate Stargate Atlantis episode, and how the camera cut. They ran out of film while this guy was doing a 9-story fall in Vegas, and it's like, if he's gonna risk his life for you, at least you can do is film it. And they ran out of film.
So they had to do a retake.
No, they didn't. The guy who was running the camera, he was like, "Yeah, we got it." And then they got back up to Vancouver. Was like, "No, we didn't get it." But they had other cameras, so they cut the footage together. But the seamless shot was not captured.
Wow.
So it's just so absolutely. So did you and Michael Shanks ever have a bit about your line about Jonas being better than Daniel?
No, actually, nothing ever came of that. When I do remember how we first met, which was great. He came into the trailer, and at the time I'm thinking he's going to give me an earful,
right? Or at least just good humored about it.
Yeah, but I think when he walked into the trailer, I can tell that he was unsure of me. He wasn't sure who I was and what that bit was about and stuff. But quickly, he warmed up to me. I warmed up to him. He understood it was a joke, and we started talking. And like I said, the people out there, that entire crew, they're just so welcoming. it's for someone who worked in entertainment. It's scary to see how welcoming and open they were out there towards me. I mean, they're just genuinely good people. And yeah, not that I'm saying a lot of people are bad, but it just that I just experienced something different.
Right. The tone that was set on the Stargate set was very different. No pretentiousness whatsoever. It just wasn't allowed.
Yeah,
it wasn't tolerated. And that carried throughout the whole thing. Have you ever met Corin Nemec?
Yes, actually, backstage at DragonCon.
Hey,
we took a photo. I met him and Jason Momoa. They were panelists on one of the Stargate tracks at DragonCon, and I met them backstage. Yeah, nice guys.
Good guys, absolutely. Yeah. I have some questions for you submitted by the audience.
Please, bring them on.
All right. And GateGab wanted to know, do you have any new Stargate artwork that you can share with us? I guess you already answered that question with the one that you have in development.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll have you back for that.
Yeah, as soon as I have something that I'm comfortable showing, I'll show it.
Yeah, even if we just have a smaller segment, absolutely. I'm getting ready to do some smaller segments, some more abbreviated ones, so perfect. Redux wants to know, if asked, would you be interested in reprising Sergeant O'Brien in the fourth Stargate series, SG-1? Heartbeat.
In a heartbeat.
And are you comfortable and furious enough to articulate and speak for the Stargate fans what they are feeling?
Yes. Stargate back on the air.
Absolutely.
I hear right now that Amazon is in negotiation for MGM. I need this to happen quickly because my instinct tells me they will bring Stargate back.
But are they going to reboot it? That's my fear. My fear is that they're going to be like, you know what? We're not going to do 350 hours. We want to do something fresh.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about reboots, but if that's the only way we're going to get, at this point, I'm willing to take whatever is given. I would prefer it not be a reboot. I think there's a lot of story in Stargate to build upon. There is no need to reboot the characters. The characters have been established. Let's create new characters and update the environment, similar to what they did with the last two seasons of Stargate by bringing Claudia in and Bo. They brought new characters in and expanded the story, moved it forward, and I would prefer they did that as opposed to trying to reboot. I mean, seriously, who on earth can you replace Richard Dean Anderson with?
I know.
There's no one. Who can you replace Amanda Tapping? There is no one. Nope. Who are you going to replace Michael with? There's no one. Chris Judge goes without saying. You can't replace these guys. Anyone you bring to imitate them will be inferior. They cannot be replaced. So my feeling is don't even waste time going there. If the thinking is, well, we'll reboot it because the fans, they're older and they may not care. Guess what? We care. Stargate is in our blood. We have, I forgot the name of the substance that the ghouls have in their blood.
Naquita. It's like Naquita.
We have Naquita in our blood. No matter how old we are going to be Stargate fans. You give it to us, we'll be there, regardless of age. So the story of you need to reboot doesn't fly. Just give us new stories, put it out there. And the toys, I put a couple of things out, but it dawned on me, we're lacking. We need some serious toys. I get it. MGM is in flux. You can't get licensing things to work, but Funko, get on the ball here. Stargate. Yeah. Think about it. I would say every single fan out there would probably build an army of super soldiers. They would probably buy 24 or maybe more of those Funko Pops just to create a scene of super soldiers.
That's right.
Think about that. A pop costs $12. Yeah. How much money you guys at Funko will make off of Stargate is almost obscene.
I think it would do
Stargate can run your business. You can drop all your other products, quite frankly. Start making Stargate products. I mean, I want to see Stargate crayons. I want to see Stargate coloring books. I want to see Stargate miniatures. I want to see Stargate, the Hot Wheel toys. I want Stargate everywhere. A couple of bobbleheads and fan created stuff is cool, but I want merchandise that is Stargate. I want Stargate blankets. I want Stargate clothing. I want Stargate to be represented the way they've represented Star Wars and Star Trek, because quite frankly, Stargate is bigger and better.
All right.
Dang it.
Ugly pig. Pierre, are you comfortable and angry?
Comfortable and furious, David.
Oh, thank you, sir. That's great. Teresa MC, would you step through the Stargate?
Yes.
No way. Yes. No, are you kidding? No. Let them do all the dangerous stuff. Of course. Absolutely. And let me see here. Steffer's Tune. I guess you've kind of answered this. Was your favorite convention that you have attended or participated in?
Yeah, DragonCon, hands down.
All right, absolutely. M.E. says, did Pierre get anyone else on Late Night with Conan O'Brien into Stargate?
I think a couple of staff members were watching the show or were into it. I don't know if I got them into it, but they were aware of it. Like I said, I know that one person that traveled with us was a Stargate fan, and he was the one who was eyeing that box.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So you got to keep that away from him. Don't know what's going to happen to that. For sure. Brian O'Neill Singleton. Were you the recipient of any cast pranks?
Was there any pranks done on me? No, not really. No, unfortunately. No one pranked me.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I mean, that zombie makeup, how long did that take?
The zombie makeup took about somewhere between 2 to 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a long process. She did an incredible job on that. I mean, when I looked at myself, I thought they actually did skin me and the bone was coming through. No,
wow, that realistic.
Job. Yeah.
Wow, yeah. Amazing. And was it one take with the squibs? Did you guys?
With the squibs, I want to say I believe there were 2 takes.
Okay.
I could be remembering wrong, but I think there were 2.
What was Ben like? Was he fun?
I'm trying to remember.
Ben Browder was the one that chopped you up.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Ben, don't take it personally. I remember we took some photos together. I don't remember. He was nice. He was genuinely nice. I'm trying to think of something personal that occurred between me and him. It wasn't anything personal per se. Yeah, but he was genuinely nice. Oh, you know who? Someone I should mention? Don Davis.
Oh.
Don. I met him briefly. I regret we never got a chance to shoot together, but I got a chance to talk to him offside. We didn't videotape this, unfortunately, but we were just talking artist to artist because somehow it came up that he did watercolor as well. And we started talking and he was asking me about my life and stuff. And I was telling him, and he was telling me about his life and how he approaches life and the industry in general and how to have a perspective on all of this stuff. And one of the things I recall him saying, I can't say it word for word because I don't remember it word for word, but it was along the lines of he was happily married. They had a cottage somewhere near a lake or a river that ran in their backyard. And when he wasn't on set, him and his wife were out there, and he was in a relationship where she understood him and appreciated what he did. And he was able to be an artist and enjoy his art and be with, the reason this came up was because at the time, and I'm not going to use names so I won't get myself in trouble. At the time I was dating someone who didn't quite appreciate what was going on with the TV stuff. Yes, this is what, it came up because he was asking me about my life, and I was telling him that I was seeing someone at the time who didn't quite appreciate Stargate or any of what was going on in my life. And he was telling me the importance of having people in your life who understand you and appreciate what you do and is supportive. And that's how he came about telling me about his art and his wife and stuff.
Yeah, Ruby's amazing to this day.
Yeah, and I took it all in. I definitely took that in. Till this day, whenever I meet someone I think I might be interested in, I could hear Don's voice in my head, telling me, is this person right? Do they understand what I'm doing? Do they have an appreciation? Yeah, I hear Don's voice, because it was deep. It was an impactful conversation.
Those of us who are lucky enough to meet him, I think about him all the time, and he's, you cannot separate SG-1 and Don S. Davis. You can't do it, whether he was in command of the base at the time or not. Man, I miss him. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wanted to note that the Telcheck device here this is the same one from your scene.
Oh, wow.
So this is the one that lights up.
Nice.
I don't, the batteries in it are not working right now. Otherwise I'd show it off, but that's the same one that was made for 200. It's not the one from Evolution 1 and 2. So I have a little piece of your scene with me on my own set. So
nice.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Let me see here. Steffer's Tune. Who was your favorite SG-1 antagonist?
My favorite SG-1. You mean for the show, not in person in real life?
Yes. Antagonist, like villain.
My favorite villain, it goes without saying, Ball, Simon. He was, him.
Wasn't he a genius?
Everything. He bought a sophisticated. He made being a villain cool.
Yes, he did.
He just made being a villain cool. I could not hate him, even though I wanted them to stop him. You couldn't hate him. It's like he just made being a villain cool.
Yeah, the news of Cliff's passing, that was a hard day. But man, he left us with a great character.
Oh, totally. The only thing about his passing, I'm happy is that he was doing what he enjoyed.
Correct.
That's one of those things for me personally. I'm always thinking about, I don't know how I'm leaving this planet, but I'm hoping it could be maybe I'm drawing. It would be cool. Yeah. I
doing what you love.
Yeah, doing what you love. I think that's the best way to leave in that state. Anyway.
Well, his wife said, the beach was his temple, and if that's what it comes down to, if you have to go, that's it, absolutely. Let me see here. So people are saying Dial the Gate should do a Recliner of Rage Stargate edition. One of the comments that was made in the forum, I forget where, but maybe it was on Facebook or something, is that if Pierre doesn't show up with his recliner, we're all rioting. I'm like, I don't know if he's got the recliner.
I don't have the recliner.
Yeah.
The recliner itself, I don't know if it even exists. If it exists, it's in the basement somewhere on the NBC lot out here, because I know they flew it out here, even though they weren't planning to use it. So it's in the basement in some lot somewhere. I have a recliner similar to the one that we used prior to the checkered pattern fabric one. There was a green recliner when we originally worked with, and I have one similar to it here.
That's what your design is based on behind you there.
Yes.
So how funny is that? All right, man. That's basically the lineup of fan questions. Pierre, this has been fantastic having you on.
Thank you.
Been looking forward to this for a really long time, and I really appreciate you sharing your stories and really such a big part of your soul with fandom, because I think we are really, all of us are kindred spirits, and there's. If there is a chance for a fourth Stargate, I do hope to see you on it in some capacity as a nod to all of us. Right. Yeah.
Even in background, I'll do it.
Absolutely. Best of luck on this Stargate project that you're working on.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm looking forward to having you back to show it off.
Oh, I can't wait to do that. And I can't say thank you enough to you and everyone out in Vancouver, even though it's so many years now. But yeah, those guys, they gave me a memory that, like I said, will never leave me. I mean, I know at some point I probably will lose all memory of everything else, but that memory of those visits out there, they will stick with me. They mean a lot to me. I can't even express. I don't even have the vocabulary to express how much those 3 trips out to Vancouver mean to me. They're priceless. The memories, the photos, the videos, they're just priceless. They're absolutely priceless.
One last thing, if you don't mind, would you please share your line with us from the show?
Which the beginning,
the one with O'Neill coming into the control room.
God, I don't remember my line. My God.
We have audio contact, sir. It's Colonel Carter.
Oh, God.
Wow.
Oh, God. I knew I would be stumped. General O'Neill, it's Colonel Carter.
There we go. All right, I'll take it. That's great. Thank you, Pierre.
Thank you, Dave.
I will have you back real soon. I'll text you.
Definitely.
I'll be in touch. Definitely. You take care of yourself, sir. Okay.
We'll
work on that thing.
Yeah, we need a Stargate thing.
Thanks, Pierre. Really appreciate you. I'll go ahead and wrap it up on this end.
Okay, fantastic.
Be well, sir. Bye-bye.
You guys, take care. Bye.
Pierre Bernard, Sergeant O'Brien on Stargate SG-1. That was great. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Yeah, so Pierre has indicated that he's working on a new Stargate art piece. So when that is underway, we'll absolutely have him back to show it off. So very, very cool. Goran Andanowski. Any chance Bo Bridges and Mitch Pileggi could be guests on Dial the Gate? Bo has respectfully declined for the time being. Mitch, I was hoping to see him in Pensacola, and then he pulled out of Pensacon, so I didn't end up going, but I do need to reach out to him. Michael Mitchell, have you ever noticed that there were a lot of Star Trek Easter eggs in a lot of episodes of SG-1? Yes, because Brad Wright specifically was very much a Stargate fan. And then, would a revival also include the child of Jack O'Neill? I guess he's saying from... if he's not referring to Charlie, is he referring to the what was her name? Was it Lara in season 3 from 100 Days? That would be interesting. That would be really interesting. I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. So yes, so the big news right now is that Amazon is currently a high bidder for the MGM archive. So we'll have to see what happens there. I think that's all we've got for you here. Click the like button, share and subscribe the show. It makes a difference with the YouTube algorithm, and it helps us grow our audience. So next weekend, we have the list of the 12 things that we would like to see in the next Stargate series. So Darren and I are going to be putting that on together at noon on May the 30th, followed by part 4 of our interview with Robert C. Cooper, discussing, we're going to do a deep dive into Atlantis from beginning to end. And that's going to be May the 30th at 2 p.m. Pacific time. My big thanks to Pierre Bernard for making this show possible. Really appreciate having him on. And tremendous thanks to Tracy, Keith, Jeremy Reese, Anthony, Summer, Linda, Gategabber Fury, and Jennifer Kirby, my production team and moderators who make the show possible. You guys, thank you so much for making this a thing week after week. And until next weekend with our pre-recorded shows, my name is David Reed for Dial the Gate. See you on the other side.